Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. It's been a busy week for mining, with calls for a collective national vision, critical views on exploration constraints, and significant transaction between miners. Martin Creamer has all the details. Welcome, Martin.
Hi, Sashnee.
Now, the Chamber of Mines president has called for a collective national vision to energize the economy. Can you tell us about this?
Umkolisi Mgojo, he has plans to try and establish a collective vision for mining. Now, that is very important. You've got to bring the whole country into this. Because what has happened since 1994, the government has become custodian of the mineral rights. Prior to that, the private sector was the custodian of the mineral rights. So those mineral rights are now in the big ambit of government, and really they are therefore owned by the people of South Africa. So when a mining company gets permission to actually right to set up a mine, you know, they are doing it really as contractors. They've got a period of time where they are licensed to actually mine. And at the end of that period, they've got to reapply. So we are all owners of what is in the ground. Now, what is in the ground is very valuable, but it's valueless unless you can get it up economically. So you've got to have this collective vision. It's no good just dealing with a Department of Mineral Resources, which is shown to be to have a strange unilateral approach to things. You've actually got to deal with a whole lot of ministries. Never mind the Minister of Mineral Resources. You've got to bring in the Department of Trade and Industry. You've got to bring in several departments, several ministries, because this is a big story you're talking about. Because what is mining in South Africa? It is the flywheel that can set this economy moving. Now we see other countries that have put their mind to it, despite this downturn in the global economic activity. Look at a country like New Zealand. It's put its mind to growth, even though it's small, and it's growing better than any OECD country at the moment. There's also growth in Australia. So it shows you, if you get a government that puts its mind to it and works with the private sector, despite the hardship, you can squeeze some growth out of there. And one of the factors that can give us that growth, one of these great advantages we've got, is the mining sector. But you need a competitive, viable, inclusive, transformative situation where you move together as a country. You're saying, this is our asset in the ground. How are we going to use it and leverage it for the benefit of everybody? And this is what the Chamber of Mines president now is looking to do. And I think that the country needs to give him big support. Obviously, we're doing it at a critical time in South Africa's political history, but hopefully we'll come out of that. And hopefully behind the scenes they can already start roping in people so that you've got this vision. You've got to have that vision before you're going to get the optimum return out of mining. But if you have a correct vision, you can do a lot for the growth of South Africa.
Now, AngloGold Ashanti has disposed of its Vaal River assets to Harmony Gold for 300 million.
Now you can see the realities on the ground. You can see, you know, companies like AngloGold Ashanti having to make sure that they only keep their Rolls Royces, because that is their stock, that's their core business, to be at a high level in mining. You know, from its inception, it has always sold off its Volkswagens and the smaller cars. Now we see it having to do it again. And it's not unreasonable, because mining has a finite horizon. You know, every ounce you take out of there, you should be replacing that ounce. That doesn't really happen. And so you end up with a mine that's depleted, and it can be loss-making, as you had with you know, some of these mines, not the one that they sold to Harmony. You know, that's got a good prospect. But you know, the loss-making part of their business, they have shed that. And that's a reasonable thing to do, because there's horses for courses. You know, we saw that when AngloGold Ashanti in the early days, we also saw them shed some of their lower grade mines. And at that stage, you know, they went to black ownership, and you could see how much that created within the black ambit, to a point where, you know, that funded movement further. And we now have African rainbow minerals. But it started with that disposal by Anglo Gold Ashanti, saying these are the mines that don't fit our strategy. We will keep the mines that do fit our strategy, but we will make sure that we pass these on to people who are going to do a good job with them. And so one person's meat is another person's poison. And smaller, lower overhead operations can turn certain assets into profit, whereas the bigger companies cannot. And so they move on. And we see that reality now with Anglo Gold Ashanti, and coming in with, taking their second biggest asset really was Harmony Gold. And I think Harmony are probably in a better position to turn that to positive account, because Harmony, where did they originate? They were bottom feeder. They were a bottom feeder company. So they geared for that slightly more challenging situation. And as I say, horses for courses. And now we see that happening in gold in South Africa. And it's something that's very, very reasonable. And we should expect it and not be distressed by it.
Consulting exploration geologist Alan Sard has called for the removal of red tape around exploration to prevent the demise of the industry.
Now, the red tape and the hoops that people have to go through to get an exploration license. I mean, is the Department of Mineral Resources, do they know what this is all about? This is no dripping roast. You see other countries begging people to go into exploration. We see a whole flow-through scheme in Canada. Why has Canada's mining been so successful? Why, when we go to Toronto, do we have to look up at those big skyscrapers, and they've done so well, all developed from mining? Because they realize that mining starts at a very risky level. It's called exploration. And unless you get people going there, and they're not going to just do it because they can't take all the risk. If you try and share that risk, then they will get in there, and then you will have some result, as we've seen in Australia as well. You see governments backing this exploration first stage. It's a tough stage where it's all risk and no reward. In our country, we just roll out red tape. And I once said to a rather big investor, how come you are investing in Chile? You are South African. Surely you should have looked to South Africa first. And he was saying, well, when I go to Chile, they roll out the red carpet. When I come to South Africa, they roll out the red tape, and I get stuck in it and I can't move. That is what Alan Sard is pointing to here, that you need some sort of awareness that the exploration level of this industry is the high risk level. So you need to incentivize in some way and not create so many obstacles that he says, you just do anything like drill one hole, but then you have to give them an environmental plan that covers what could be. In other words, what could be. You're drilling the first hole, you don't even know what's going to be there. Is it going to fit your concept, or are you going to have to move away? No, at that stage, you treat it as if you're building a huge mine here, So he's saying that they should phase it in, they should rethink it, they should incentivize people. They need geoscience, the Council of Geoscience, to look more inward. Our Council of Geoscience looking outward, helping Africa, but not helping us. When last was mapping done? Since the Council of Geoscience last mapped, technology has changed radically. And you can see some of the successes of that technology when you see, a mine that people walked away from 30 years ago, or an asset they walked away from, suddenly, turning around and giving a lot of value. And so new technology must be acknowledged as well, and some sort of recognition needs to be given to the fact that mining starts at the exploration level. And I know we have the Chamber of Mines, so they only worry about mines. You need something like the PDAC in Canada, which actually says, wow, we've got these geologists, they are doing conceptual thinking around these various assets. Let's see how we can help them, and they've got that flow-through scheme which does help them. The Australians are helping their people. We see even in Argentina, some exploration going in. Peru is showing us what should be done. Chile, a lot of countries around the world can show you. South Africa, a mining jurisdiction, seems to have no awareness of how you should deal with exploration, and instead you get crazy documents coming out of there, like Mining Charter 3, which couldn't even be worked on the moon. I mean, there's just no ways that this set of onerous and new levies and all sorts of revenue streams that you don't even know who's going to control them could ever work. And also the actual MPRDA, the legislation, that also needs to be looked at, because it emphasizes downscaling. Here, we're looking for growth, eh? And you've got a legislative framework that gives you a lot of talk on how to downscale. What are they trying to say? Are they trying to not mine in the future? Surely there should be something in that MPRDA which looks at upscaling. This is what we want to do. We want to grow this economy. We're in a serious state. This is one of the generators of potential growth, and it's treated very badly. So hopefully, the warnings from the geologists saying, look, if you don't have exploration, in time, you don't have mining. So it'll just be a matter of time. And also you have the Chamber of Mines president saying, no, we need a broader vision. Let's bring everybody into this so that we can make sure that it does what it should do for the South African economy.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashnee.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.